Okay, so I thought I'd give you a quick tour of the Treadlight Gear workshop. Um, this is where I spend way too much time, but it's quite a nice space. It's very small, but with organisation it's surprising what you can do in a small space. So I'll come back to the fabric store at the end on the way out, but this is the main cutting area as I walk in on the left. Everything I do is blade cut. Most fabrics I use, I'm fortunate you can see through to the cutting grid, so that works. My stuff isn't huge, so I don't need a massive space. I've got 60 centimeters up, and then I've got about 2 meters going down the length, so you can cut full width if you need to. Lots of storage space on the top there. Lots of products in there that have never seen the light of day. I need to have a good sort out in there. The most common zips that I use I buy in on 200-meter rolls, so keep those handy. Small rulers, quilting ruler, which is handy. I use a lot when I'm cutting the inners for wallets, etc. It saves you having to actually physically measure. You just slot that on and cut to size. Scissors, because I'm blade cutting most of my stuff, the only use I have for scissors is trimming thread and cutting zips to size, etc. So I don't waste money on expensive scissors. These are all cheap, very cheap scissors, mostly from the pound shop, and they just get abused, so I have no interest in spending lots of money on expensive stuff. This end, as we get nearer to the actual business end of things, my sewing machine, my chair. I spent a huge amount of money on the chair, but it's fully adjustable lumbar. I spent a lot of time in that chair, so it needs to be comfortable, and to be fair, it is. I don't really ache even after a long day, so it does its job. Coming down to here, the machine's there, everything I need access to on a daily basis I like within arm's reach. So down here we've got all the findings, some line locks there, mitten clips, cord locks, D-rings, slick clips, ladder locks, everything I need to lay hands on quickly. Got the eyelet box there and tool for doing closed channels, lighters, jet lighter, and just normal lighters just for sealing the ends of zips, etc. Zip pulls that I use regularly, both standard and the waterproof zip pulls. Cord locks, I've got millions of cord locks, I get through a lot of those. Over the back there, thread, the vast majority of which is Gutterman, Mara or Terra. There are one or two specialist threads there that I use for certain functions, but I won't bore you with that. Threads that I'm currently using are here. Those are pretty much all the colours I get through in a day. Over the back, more clips and things, stamps that I use to stamp the Cuban products, and then we've got there ITW World line locks, the most impossible thing to source on the planet. These are line lock 10s, which I don't sell, but I do use myself. Somebody's dropped some handy product into the video. Those are my new Cuban packing cells. It's a product I'm really excited about. They do work great for pack organisation. So those are now live on the website. This is my machine. This is Betsy. It's a Singer 201K from the mid-50s. To me, they're the Rolls-Royce of sewing machines. I've used modern machines, and there's nothing to touch a Singer when it's properly adjusted. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people hear they're great, they buy one, but you do need to know your way around them. They don't need much more than a spanner or a screwdriver, but you need to know what you're doing if you want them purring properly. So, but yeah, this one, to be fair, it's never needed anything other than a clean and an oil and the odd new drive belt. So yeah, obviously I don't use small. Normally you'd put your little drum of thread on there, but I use industrial cones, so I've got a cone stand on the top, my Cuban crane. And then over this side, more of the same really. These are all the little bits of Cuban that cover zip ends and things like that. There's pre-cut bits of grosgrain in there. It's just a Cuban bag I've knocked up for someone, which I need to get in the post, who found a way of putting a toolkit in a tube set of a Brompton. So there we go, that'll be on the way soon. A mask, you do find your heat sealing zip ends and things like that to stop fraying, so it's important not to be breathing in muck. So I use a mask. I tend to do that all in one go and then give some air to the room and leave it for a bit. Behind me, another set of drawers, all the cordage that I use, mostly Dyneema, some polyester, and then another set of drawers behind me stores tapes, Cuban tapes in 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 4 inch and 7 inch. The 7 inch stuff, the 4 inch stuff I use mainly for the stick-on mitten clips and things like that in Cuban. The big wide roll, usually for patches. I don't sell patches, I suppose I should really, but I do get contacted quite often by people who have had an accident with their Cuban shelter. Normally involves a pole through Cuban, after beers, on the hill, so we can usually sort something out. So if you've ever got a need to patch something, I can probably help. On the other side here, in a big chest, got all my standard YKK zips. They're a big bag of zip pulls. I use these daily, so they're always to hand. I've got thousands of zips. I'll keep a selection here and more in off-site storage. In here, the drawer of love, lots of titanium and stoves. These are the pots I make for most commonly, so I like to test fit things that are going out to make sure that I've not made any error with the pattern. So I keep all those in there, and there's 1 or 2 in there that I haven't got around to making for yet, which are next. But it's one of my favourite drawers. Sometimes I just open it and smile. Who doesn't love titanium? Then in the bottom, larger cuts of Cuban which are waiting to be processed into patterns, ready for products. In here, strips of Cuban tape pre-made, so I use that for reinforcing draw cord channels on Cuban stuff, taping seams on things like the camera pocket, or yeah, it's just handy to have. Yeah. In the back of there is mostly Dyneema that I use for personal hammock suspensions that I like to make myself. In this one we've got all the webbings that I use. That's the red webbing I use on my shoulder bags. Heavy webbing that I like to use for securing D-rings, elastics, and then all the various grow grains that I tend to get through. There's more grow grain ribbon in there. The red I use on the tough boxes, the green on the first aid kits. Then what else do we need to look at? Over here I use concertina files. They store all the pre-cut blanks ready for product, so they're nice and to hand. Cutting's a job which is extremely time consuming, so I tend to do it on a large scale, usually on a Sunday, so that I've got everything in hand ready for the working week. But having it all cut and stored close to me makes it nice and easy. Literally lift it up and it's under the foot. So yeah. Okay, down the other side we've got an industrial sewing machine. This is an old brother, doesn't get a lot of use. I use it for wallets or anything really where I've got to punch through more layers than's comfortable for the singer. I bought this locally second hand, didn't pay much for it, but it came with a clutch motor, and clutch motors are extremely fast and finicky, so pretty much as soon as you touch that pedal they just run away with you. So I had that converted to a direct drive digital motor, which is about 1.5 horsepower I think, so it's quite beefy. It's got good foot pressure, it'll go through anything, but you can dial in the speed to what you need, and makes them much more usable. I think I paid about 150 quid for the motor kit, so and it was fairly easy to fit with the help of someone who knew what they were doing, which isn't generally me. It's got a sensor on the end there, so it always finishes with the needle down in the fabric, which is great for turning corners. And then at the end we've got all the fabric. This is the stuff on this side that I get through most of, so it's Cubans mainly, Dyneema grid, mesh, There's a bit of sil nylon over the back. This is my big cutting edge, 2 meter cutting edge, which is great for the fabrics that you can't see through, like hybrid Cuban. Normally, I'm quite fortunate, you can just see through the fabric to the grid and you can cut to size, but occasionally you need to cut the full width. Over the other side, more fabrics. I don't use this section as much as I do the other one. I've got the Metaflex padded fabric for the insulated pop bags, which, you know, it's obviously coming into summer now, so we're going to slow down on those, so I've moved that out of the regular use pile. There's some camo fabrics over the back there that I don't do a great deal with, but there's some Cuban in there as well. Things that I've generally cut on the day, I'll store at the end there until I need them. So yeah, I think that's about it. As you can see, it is a very small space, but it's surprising. If you organise yourself properly, you can do a lot with a small space. I will confess to having tidied up this morning. It can be carnage in here after a long week, but yeah. So anyway, that's where I live. It's a nice space, it's light and airy, I enjoy being in here. So yeah, normally there's a tablet on the end of the table there, so I get to watch TV all day. So yeah, it's a hard life. Thanks for watching, cheers.